Let me take you on my journey of the most complex, demanding, and frustrating cabinet build I have ever done. It was 100% more difficult than I had expected. Let's see how it turns out. This was supposed to be an easy build. Reuse an upper cabinet to make a lower cabinet, add some depth in the countertop. I was gonna fit this in between several other jobs that I've been working on. I should be able to knock this out in, a couple of days, no problem. Now the old washer and dryer fit this space just fine. We had a single upper cabinet that spanned the entire wall. I had to remove this and literally cut this in half and rehang the old cabinet back up, making space for the stackable new washer and dryer. The new dryer, unfortunately, would have been so deep it would have interfered with the garage door, and that, my friends, would not work. This is all I have left of the cabinet. I do have two doors that go with this. It's really the frame, the size, and the color that I want to maintain. Now I have to build a cabinet to go with it. Now, as you can see, I left a piece on here because if you look really closely, there's all these nails attached between this piece and the face of the cabinet, which were unbelievably hard to take out, and it was only on that one side. The other thing is, I've got these grooves up here for the 1/2-inch Baltic birch to fit in, and I've got to notch these corners. So this isn't your normal cabinet build. Once I finished cutting the individual pieces, I wanted to add all the features necessary to assemble the cabinet, minus just a few holes, which you'll understand later why I waited to put those in. It was going to be easy for me to oil and polycoat the pieces prior to assembly. The only problem was in my small shop, it took almost all the available table space I had, including the table saw, to lay everything out. I forgot how big this cabinet was really going to be. One coat of natural Danish oil and 2 coats of poly was all I needed to try to match the one short side of the remaining piece of the cabinet that was attached to the face. Only one outside facing side of the cabinet required a little different treatment. I wanted to try to do something that would closely match the cabinets in the kitchen, even though this faces the washer and dryer. Nobody's really going to notice it. It's a 3-step process I did a number of years ago on my wine cellar doors so they would match the kitchen. Not too difficult. I just have to remember to wipe off the final coat to give it some distress and texture. Time to add some depth to this orphan side panel to create the size I wanted for the lower cabinet. This is something I would never recommend. I used biscuits to glue the sides together. Biscuit joining is good for thick, flat pieces of wood, like maybe a table or something like that. I don't think this really holds that well for the side of a cabinet. What do you think? My thought was to add a strip of wood on the outside if I needed it for added rigidity. I have about a 1/2-inch between the wall and the cabinet, so I could add that. I was pleasantly surprised by the strength of this joint and decided it was strong enough for the cabinet. Once the top and bottom were glued in place, I think this would add the strength I need. I added a hole for the dryer hose at this point. It was totally flexible. The hose for the vent, the electrical cord, and the outlet needed to be more precise and therefore measured and cut after I got the cabinet fully assembled. I glued the other side of the cabinet on and completely missed the camera shot. My bad. Sorry about that. So let's forget I did that and move on to the bottom and top pieces. Both of these pieces were cut precisely. I needed to use a clamp to press fit them into place prior to nailing. Does that add strength? I think so, but it was a little more difficult than I wanted it to be. This thing is going to be strong. Now that the box is assembled, I wanted to add the toe kick. What is a toe kick? Well, the true definition is the setback or cutout at the bottom to allow room for feet when standing in front of the cabinet. That's a pretty good definition. AI suggests that the toe kick plate refers to, quote, a protective plate typically metal or plastic that is attached to the bottom of a door or cabinet toe to prevent damage from foot traffic, unquote. Well, I have some respect for AI, but I never see any metal or plastic protective plates, especially in a non-commercial environment. Once I add the rear cover to the cabinet, it was finally complete. Much more difficult to create a new one-of-a-kind cabinet than to build it completely from scratch. But I thought I would stay true to the original structural design of the cabinet. I added a box opening for the 220 electrical plate and a hole for the dryer vent and electrical cord. Now I could do the final installation. I picked up some half-inch maple for a pretty nice price and started to build a drawer. Cut the length and ran through my new used drum sander. Got a smoking deal on that one, only 3 years old. Anyway, this is where I really messed up. I ended up putting a dado blade on backwards and actually burned the wood. I've never done that before. I can't believe I did that. I was going to use a concealed butt joint on the front and rear of the drawer, slots towards the bottom for the half-inch vaulted birch plywood base, and a very simple box to glue together, but I still managed to make a mistake. What was I thinking? I was waiting for the undermount rails to arrive, so I glued together two of the old shelves to make one big one. Actually, it was rather simple. I didn't even have to trim the shelves to fit in the cabinet. I just need to put a top on this baby and I can get back to more fun projects. We got a smoking deal at Lowe's with my Lowe's card on an expensive butcher block top. Yeah, before you ask, I did pay for it. I had to route out the corner that interferes with the switch box on the wall, and I had to cut the back at a slight angle because the wall isn't square. And the top, well, after all that, it's ready for many coats of tung oil. I ended up putting 6 coats of tung oil on this with a little 600 grit sandpaper sanded in between, because again, I wanted it to match the kitchen counter island. I'm very happy with how it turned out. We had no choice to do this with the new dryer. It was a lot more work than I expected, but hey, I was happy that it's done and now I can move on to other things. I hope you enjoyed my journey and thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed, I'd really appreciate it if you did. It really helps me grow my channel, and sometimes I even get free stuff to make more interesting projects. If you like this video, please let me know. Comments are always appreciated. This is Dave with Level Up Woodworking, and I'll see you next time.